everyone, how are you doing today? Welcome to In the Shop. In this video I am going to be restoring this. Yep, this is a Williams 14-inch grist mill. So as you can see, it's in quite a shape. In fact, I've actually done a little bit of work to it already. So I'm just kind of going to bring you up to speed on what I've done so far. When I got the mill, it's complete. It's all there. I know right now it's not all there, but the rest of the bits and bobs are over there in the side. The reason I have to rebuild this mill is because of this. Yeah, that is treated lumber, and that is what this entire mill was rebuilt with. The good news is that the person I purchased this mill from had already plans to rebuild the mill, and so he had procured a good bit of poplar, which you can see right there. Behind me is a little bit of it, and I'll show you a little bit of that in a minute, to rebuild this mill. So when I bought the mill, he gave me all the lumber to go with it, and so that was good. So I've got something to work with, and so I'm really excited about it. But it is going to be a lot of work, and it is something that I'm going to spend a lot of time doing. But I do have, unfortunately, I can't use any really of this as a good pattern because it was a really sloppy job. But I have resources, and I have another mill which is right out there, and I can use a lot of these different things to help me out. There was a website, and I'll try to put that down into the comments, that I'm using as a resource. That gentleman also rebuilt a Williams mill, and I really liked his style and his approach and what he's done, and so I'm going to really and incorporate those designs into this mill project. So the good news about it, there's a lot of good news actually about this mill. I've got all the metal pieces, which is a plus. The stones are in good shape, second plus. The bearings are also in good shape, and so I don't have to rebabbit the bearings. Three very positive things that I don't have to worry about with this particular project. So that's going to make things a lot easier on me. But just to kind of give you an idea about where I am, and here we are. So what I've done so far is I went out and I bought two 10-foot 2x6 pine 2x6s, laminated them together and cut them in half so that they're each 10 feet long. I put them through the planer back there and got them down to where they're about 4 by 3 in size. This is one of the poplar pieces that I have. I've got two others back there, and these are going to form the three main supports for the main bearings for the mill. This is one of them. I'm not quite finished with it. I've got pretty much cut the size that I want. This is one of the bolts that go through to hold it down. Likely I'm going to have to inset this piece into the pine bottoms there just to get everything to work out correctly. But I've got these pieces, and I also have some other pieces which are a little bit smaller in size that I intend to make. So these boxes or frames that hold the bed stone and the runner stone, I've got some poplar to make those boxes with. So the steps that I'm going to take is I'm going to finish this. I'm going to make two more, and I'm going to get them set on my new beams at the bottom. Once I get these set and squared up and trued up and how I like them, then I'm going to move everything that is there, all the metal bits, and I'm gonna set it over here. And part of the reason for doing that is making sure that I get everything where it's supposed to be. The next step is to work out where the stones meet on this span. And then once I figure that out, then I can begin to work on the frames that hold both the runner stone and the bed stone. Yeah, and once I do that, then I can kind of work on the outer pieces like the shoe and the hopper. Kind of what I've been doing is I've got a table here, and I've got some cardboard on it, and what I've really been doing with this is just kind of measuring out as many things as I can measure out as possible, where things are supposed to go, how things are supposed to go, and all that kind of business. And this is helping me to just keep track. If I write it down, I don't have to remember. If I don't have to remember, then I won't get it wrong. That's the plan, anyway. But yeah, so it's going to be a ride. I'm not sure how many videos it's going to take me to get through this, but we're going to get through it, and you're going to get to see as much as I can show you. You know, I am working by myself, so we'll manage the best way we can, right? And in the end, we're going to have a really nice project. It's going to be a really great mill, I think. Actually, the stones, like I said, look really good, and the bearings and everything look really nice. So, all right. So, I know I said I wasn't going to show you anything else, but I am going to show you something. So, this is the log that I showed you earlier, and what I've been doing is I've noticed that it's not square. And so what I've been trying to do is get this plane and the corresponding side square if I can. Now I know that this side and the other side were run through a planer. So I'm holding it there and just kind of eyeballing it, trying to see where my high spots are. And effectively, right along this edge here is higher than the other side. So it's a little bit like that. And what I've been doing is I've been taking my plane and just trying to get it to where it's almost square. And the reason I'm going for almost is because this isn't the finished work. I'm just getting it to a stage where I can run it through the table saw, and so that when I run it against the fence, hopefully it'll be square. That's the goal anyway. And so really I'm just kind of and I don't have this fastened down. I'm again just trying to kind of get things a little squared up so that they look halfway decent. And I'm sure oh God, I'm sure, well, that doesn't look too bad. There are many professionals out there that are far better at this sort of thing than I am. I do not profess to be any kind of expert at anything. So really this is not an educational video, this is just more for informational purposes, and if you learn something from it, that's fantastic. But if you don't learn anything from it either, maybe that's okay too. I should check that. The flower girl. All right. Yeah. Well, I think this is pretty much okay. I think it's going to be good enough to run through the table saw. So we'll have to see how that goes. Okay, so what I've got here is what I thought was going to be a good setup to actually, these are my upright blocks, and I thought this was going to be a good setup to cut these blocks to the length that I want them, which is 24 inches. And so I built this little frame here that goes into the guides on the table saw, and I thought that I could just rip it down. I don't have a chop saw, and this seemed to me to be the best alternative to a chop saw, and I see a lot of people using their table saws in this way, and so I figured, well, maybe I could do this with mine. Unfortunately, this thing is terribly unstable, and you know, it could be a design flaw on my part or who knows what, but all I know is I never turned this thing on. But let me just kind of, so what I need to do is trim one side down, and as soon as I kind of get it in place, sort of to push it, you can see it ain't gonna go. So that's a problem. And then, you know, if I try to cut the other end, it'll go, but then it gets hung up. And so I'm a little bit scared of this setup that I've got. And so I'm sitting around thinking, you know, what can I do to fix this? And how can I saw you know, a really thick piece of wood and get a reasonably straight cut? And that's when the thought occurred to me that I have a power hacksaw. I think it'll work. I'm not sure, but we're going to give it a go to see if it will actually cut this. And so I'm going to begin with just doing a trim off this one side, just to kind of get everything nice and square and figure it out. So I'm going to get that thing set up, and then we're going to see if we can cut that. All right, here we are. I've got it all set up. Not entirely sure this is going to work. Just checking the fire there. But it's level, and I put these pieces of cardboard in here and on the bottom just to kind of keep it from getting too greasy. That's really the only reason that's there. But this is my power hacksaw. I've had to modify it a little bit, so hopefully this thing's going to work. We'll see. So otherwise, this is going to make for a great insurance claim. noisy. So while not fast, clocking it at almost 12 minutes, it did actually work reasonably well. Now I'm going to get it out and I'm going to see if how straight the cut is and whether or not that's going to work. I only cut a little bit off of it, so hopefully I didn't ruin it. I don't think so. Okay. Okay, so while it is not perfect, it ain't bad either. I'm really surprised with how well that worked. Now granted, it is slow. I mean, that's a hacksaw blade that's on it. I don't have a proper wood blade for that. This is really just sort of an emergency fix to that, which clearly isn't going to work. If you're wondering a little bit about how that thing operates, there's a clutch on the other side of it, and it looks like it needs to be adjusted a little bit because it kind of comes out, and that's why it would slow down on me a little bit. But otherwise, I have to say I'm very pleased with the way that thing performed. So I'm going to definitely continue to use it and cut these things down. And once I get that finished, then we'll move on to the next step. I've got these two pieces. Actually, this one's upside down. Okay, so I've got these two pieces cut to the length I want them, and you may be able to see here on the end that this one is wobbly and a little bit shorter than this one, but it's not that much shorter, and only a very perceptive person who doesn't have anything else better to do will see that. But I think I'm going to want to have a little bit extra space out here on the end. There's a bracket that goes in here, and there will be a bolt that goes in here that is used to connect to this piece. And I think having this extra bit will be to my benefit for that bolt that comes across. Hopefully, I haven't cut these too short, but you know, if I did, I did, and we'll work with it from there. So now let's cut this one and go from there. Where we are so far, I've got all three of my pieces cut to length and cut to height. They're not completely finished. I do want to do a little bit of sanding and whatnot on them before, you know, the final phase of the project. But I am at a point where I can begin to think about drilling holes in these upright pieces. And I am ready to, I can set these two, I can drill holes and I can set these two, but this third one I'm not yet ready to drill any holes for. And that's because I need to get these set and get it together and then figure out where the stone, where the stones are going to actually meet. And I'll go over that in a little bit more detail when we get to that point. So really the next step is to get the mill over here, kind of give me an idea about where it is and how it's going to set, and then I'm going to do some markups and drill these holes. Now I do want to make a note about drilling holes. As you can see, these are the bolts for these upright pieces. And while you can drill these holes in one push through, you don't really want to do that. And that's because when you drill a deep hole, the drill bit has a tendency to kind of wobble and move about, and you don't really know sometimes where it's going to come out at. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill these down about halfway from one side, flip it over, and then drill it from the other side. And hopefully, if my measurements are good and everything, I'll be able to meet in the middle and all will be well. Likely, I will end up drilling a hole slightly bigger than my bolt here to help accommodate for any kind of off-center drilling that I might do, which is entirely possible. Once I get these drilled, then I can mark my bottoms here and I can drill those out. These will then be countersunk on the bottom to allow for the bolt head to go up into this piece. Because technically this is really supposed to sit on the floor, and you don't want to have that pushing through the bottom. So we'll countersink that a little bit. And so you can see right now it's a little bit short, but once you kind of countersink it some, it'll allow this to come up a little bit and everything should work out just fine. Well, thanks for watching. That's it for today. Come back next time and we'll be drilling some holes in the wood there, and I'll show you how I lay that out and how I intend to do that. But again, thanks for coming by, and appreciate you watching my video.